This week's Parshah, Parshas Eikev, has the famous pasuk, Perek Ches, pasuk Ches, the famous pasuk that tells us about the Shivas Haminim. Eretz chita sa'oira, וגפן ושעורה ורימון, Eretz ze shemen ודבש. So we have 7 things, and it's separated by a Eretz. It says Eretz chita sa'oira וגפן ושעורה ורימון, and then it says again Eretz ze shemen ודבש. So why is the Torah separated between the first 5 and the last 2? The chita sa'oira, וגפן, ותאנה, ורימון, and Eretz ze shemen ודבש. So there's two very famous pshatim, one from the Sforno and one from the Meshech Chochmah. The Sforno tells us that that shemen and dvash were big delicacies. The lashon of Sforno is madane melech, and since they were special delicacies in Eretz Yisrael, even provides that's a special thing. That so the Torah says it's separate. The Torah is enumerating all the milas of Eretz Yisrael, all the psukim before and after, and therefore Eretz shemen and dvash is another mila that it also provides shemen and dvash, which were major delicacies. The Meshech Chochmah also has a famous pshat that he goes through a lot of psukim. He explains. He says that in Mitzrayim did not have shemen and dvash. So this was something that Dafka Eretz Yisrael had. Only Eretz Yisrael had shemen and dvash, but Mitzrayim did not. And he explains a few psukim with that. He explains not only over here why it separates Eretz shemen and dvash separately, but some other psukim also. He says that early in Parshas Chukas, Klal Yisrael says, "Lo mekayim zera schitu soira, lo mekayim zera vatאנה וגפן ורימון." When Klal Yisrael is complaining about the midbar, they say it's lo mekayim zera vatאנה וגפן ורימון. What happened to shemen and dvash? So the Meshech Chochmah very good, because shemen and dvash they didn't have in Mitzrayim either. In Mitzrayim they did have zera, meaning chita, sa'oira, וגפן, ותאנה, ורימון, but they didn't have shemen and dvash anyway. They were complaining that here in the midbar was lo mekayim zera, וגפן, ותאנה, ורימון. And he also explains that's why Yaakov Avinu sent to Mitzrayim. He said, "Mizimra sa'aretz ma'at dvash," because dvash was something that Yisrael had and Mitzrayim did not have. So it's very geschmack why it says Eretz separately, either like the Sforno, because that's another mila that it provides this delicacy, madane melech, or like the Meshech Chochmah says that this was something that only Eretz Yisrael had, Mitzrayim did not have. The question is that the Gemarah says a different shot. The Gemarah says, the famous Gemarah in Gemarah Brachos daf mem aleph. The Gemarah mem aleph from the base. The Gemarah says that a story of two Amoraim that they're eating the Suda, and the bottom line is the question is what's the seder, which fruit should be eaten first. And we know, at least like this mandama, we know that whichever fruit is mentioned first in the Shivas Haminim is more chashav. And one should make the bracha on that one. And the Gemarah says that if, let's say, somebody has a pomegranate and a tamar, if somebody has rimonim and tamri, so assumingly rimoin is the 5th one in the pasuk, so it should be first, because tomorrow is dvash, right? The dvash in the pasuk is talking about dvash tomorrow. It's talking about the honey that was taken out of dates, date honey, and so tomorrow is last. So seemingly Rimoin should go before tomorrow. And the Gemarah says no. Tomorrow goes first. Why does tomorrow go first? Because we split up the pasuk. The first pasuk says Eretz chita sa'oira וגפן ותאנה ורימון. That's a list of 5, and then afterwards we have another list of Eretz ze shemen ודבש. So and the chashivos has to be what number you are to the word Eretz. So since Rimain is 5th on the first list, so Rimain is considered 5th, and Dvash, which is the 2nd on the second list, comes before Rimain, which is 5th on the first list. Yeah. So in other words, we have 2 lists. the first list of Eretz, Chita, ושעורה, וגפן, ותאנה, ורימון, Riman being last, and then we have a second list which is 8 Eretz, Shemen, ודבש, and that second, so depending on where you are in that list, that's to tell you how chashuv you are. How do we compare the two lists? We compare you again. If you're first in the first list, you go before first in the second list. But if you're first in the but if you're first in the second list, you go before. But if you're first in the second list, you go before second in the first list. So first of first is better. Is better than first of second, but first of the second list, or let's say the second of the second list, is better than the third or the fifth of the first list. That's the Gemarah. So now, what's the pshat in the Sforno, the Meshech Chochmah, that they say a different pshat? It's very pashut. We still need the Sforno, the Meshech Chochmah, right? They're not arguing with the Gemarah. The Gemarah says that the reason why it says Eretz is to break up the pasuk, to give us two lists. And they're saying a different shot. They're saying that the reason why it says Eretz is either because of its delicacies of Shemen ודבש, or because Mitzrayim didn't have only it was an exclusive fruit of Eretz Yisrael. But that would be a different shot. But the truth is that we still need the Meshech Chochmah and the Sforno. Why do we need the Meshech Chochmah and the Sforno? Because had it not been for their reasons, why did the Torah split it up into two lists? Why didn't the Torah keep it in one big list? Say Eretz, Chita, Zayis, Sha'ora, Debsh, Gefen, ותאנה, ורימון. Right? Why did the Torah split it up into two lists at all? Why didn't we do it? Why didn't we just have one list of 7 fruit and gefi the seder of the chashivas of each fruit? It should be listed in one big list, one big master list. Why does it have 2 separate lists? The Torah says that we wanted to split it up. And we wanted to split it up for either the Sforno svara of that these are luxurious fruits, or the Meshech Chochmah svara that these are fruits that were only found. It's a perish and ishtabchu Eretz Yisrael and not Mitzrayim. But now the question is fakert. Once we have their svara, that there's a separate reason why the Torah says Eretz Shemen ודבש, because there's a reason why they should be listed separately. So who gave us to tell us that the reason that Shemen and Debsh are more chashuv than their counterparts in the first list? The reason why they were cut off onto a separate list is anyways for a different reason, is anyways for the Sforno's reason, is anyway for the Meshech Chochmah's reason. It's akochach not because of the Gemarah and Brachos. Because for the Gemarah and Brachos we could have had one big long list. Akochach, there's a separate reason that Shemen and Debsh had to be in its own list. And if Shemen and Debsh anyways had to be on its own list, so what's the pshat in the Gemarah? That the Gemarah says that the reason why Debsh is second in the second list is because of a chashivas. Debsh is in the second list because it's part of that exclusive second list of Shemen and Debsh. So I think we have to say like this, that the truth is that really there's 3 groups. There's Chita ושעורה, which the pasuk in Chukas calls it zera. Chita ושעורה, they're grains, and the Sforno says those are the tzrichim lemazon. They should really be on their own list. And then there's וגפן, ותאנה, ורימון, which are fruits that they had in Mitzrayim, but they didn't, and Eretz Yisrael was mishtabchu b'hem. And then there's the third list of Shemen ודבש. So the Gemarah and Brachos, that really there's 3 lists, and the Torah wanted to break up the lists. V'haraya, the Torah says Eretz Shemen ודבש. So if the Torah is breaking up the lists, why didn't the Torah say Eretz Chita ושעורה, Eretz וגפן, ותאנה, ורימון, Eretz Shemen ודבש? In other words, we should have broken it up into 3 separate aretzes. We should have had Eretz Chita ושעורה, and then list number 1 for the grains. Then we have list number 2, Eretz, וגפן, ותאנה, ורימון, and then list number 3, Eretz Shemen ודבש. Why didn't we do that? Why didn't the Torah put in another aretz, since we're anyway splitting it up into lists? The teretz is that the Torah never wanted that Gefen, ותאנה ורימון, should be right next to Eretz, because we didn't want it to be more chashuv than the second list. So the Gemarah in Brachos is meduik. Of course, we had to split up the list, and of course, the Meshech Chochmah and the Sforno are right that they had to be that the reason why Zayis and Zeishem and ודבש has its own list is for a separate reason. But still, the Gemarah in Brachos says that we could still learn from this, from how close somebody is to Eretz. We could still learn from the chashivas, from the fact that the Torah didn't insert Eretz before ותאנה ורימון. Why not? We have really three lists. We have ושעורה, we have ותאנה ורימון, and then we have Zeishem and ודבש. The Torah did not put in Eretz in between ושעורה and וגפן, because the Torah didn't want the וגפן and ותאנה should be close to Eretz, and they will be more chashuv than Zeis, Shemen, ודבש. And it's taka, and now it's very geschmack. The Meshech Chochmah and the Sforno Svara that Zeis, Shemen, ודבש are taka very chashuv, and they're for whatever, either because only Eretz Yisrael has it, or because they're luxuries, the Madani Melech, and they taka end up going. Their kedima in the Gemarah and Brachos is the chita first goes chita and then goes shemen, then goes ושעורה and then goes דבש, and then comes ותאנה ורימון, which are not as chashuv as chita and ושעורה, and not as chashuv as shemen ודבש.